Joe Benavidez joining us now. He will be competing for the inaugural UFC flyweight title at UFC 152 coming up September 22nd in Toronto, taking on Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. Had the pleasure of visiting with Joe, I guess about a week or so ago. Ran into you a couple of times over the weekend at the Zions event, and then went with my friend Dan Hardy to the Throwdown Gym to check out the camp. And I want to ask you about that, Joe, at the Throwdown Gym. You and Dan, and I got a chance to talk to Ricky Lundell for quite a bit about your camp and just get an idea of how your camp was going. It seems like you guys have a pretty cool, tight-knit situation going on there.
Oh, yeah, man, it's going amazing. First of all, great to see you over there.
Thanks.
Good time.
Thanks. Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, man, it's awesome. You know, I've been switching up my training. You know, I've been talking about it a little bit, but you know, just been switching up my training. For actually my last few fights, I've been going down to Vegas. You know, 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and just getting new looks, getting new coaches, and just doing what I think is necessary. You know, to compete at the highest level. You know, I definitely have the best team in the world. You know, at Team Alpha Male, but, you know, we have a unique situation over at Team Alpha Male where we don't necessarily have a head coach to kind of look over everything. So for me, you know, that direction is so important. And once I got it, I realized kind of how important it was. So, you know, and I had to stay in Vegas for 2 months for the Ultimate Fighter show and just really started enjoying the team of Ricky Lundell, Dan Hardy, you know, who also, works with them, as coaches. And Dan Hardy actually helped me a ton as a coach too, so he's great just to have there. You know, he's like another coach besides Lundell. Sean Yarbrough is the kickboxing coach, and then Jimmy Gifford is the boxing coach. And these guys are just awesome, man. Like I said, you know, it's something that makes me better. And at this point, going for the world title, like I can get to a certain level, you know, just training and going hard and going with my team. But you know, I'm trying to get to a whole nother level, you know, above that. And, you know, I think just this instruction and coaches and their knowledge, you know, has really helped me to get there. So, you know, it feels great. And I think, you know, the best fighter in me is yet to come.
You know, Joe, in talking to Ricky Lundell about your camp and your progress that day a week or so ago, I was particularly struck with how analytical Ricky can be, but also how good he is at communicating what he's trying to say. When you've been around the sport as long as you have at this point, obviously there's a ton of talent in the UFC, both in the fighters and the coaches, but I'm guessing not everybody possesses the ability to really articulate what it is they're trying to say as they instruct you. Is that something you immediately pick up on when you're working with one coach as opposed to another?
Oh my God. Ricky in particular, he just has such a way of breaking it down, and like you said, you can notice right away from talking to him just how smart and knowledgeable, you know, and passionate he is about MMA, and you know that's what really drew me towards him. Everything he taught me, I learned, and it was stuff I used the next day, you know, and that's what coaching's all about, you know, making it effective and making it, you know, something that works for you. You know, you can teach the same person everything, but can you get this individual, you know, and mold him to you know, to use what he's best at, you know, and what's going to work for him. So, you know, Ricky is amazing, man. Good saying that he has, you know, like we just said, it's hard for everyone to break it down and to get that across. You know, it's a hard job being a coach, and he says those who can't coach do. Instead of, you know, those who can't do coach, which right. Everyone always makes fun of coaches that didn't fight. So he says those who can't do coach, and you know, he does an amazing job, man. And like I said, it's just something I know has been getting me better and has been helping me improve. So, you know, the guy's amazing. Like I said, the other guys, Jimmy Gifford and Sean Yarbrough, who also helped me, and they all kind of work together as a team, man. And you know, I'm just a product of them there, man. They just tell me what to do, and I go do it.
Joe, let's talk about your opponent, Demetrious Johnson. You know, looking at records, he has a little bit more of a tendency to go to a decision than you do. Do you think that is a product of his legendary cardio that maybe, the faster a guy works and the better cardio that he has, the longer it takes to figure out that fighter, and before you know it, you're at the end of the fight and go into the scorecards. Do you think there's a connection there?
Not so much to do with his cardio, it's just his style in general. His style in general is just move, get the takedown. He doesn't have, I guess huge finishing power on the feet or really the submissions, but, he's skilled everywhere, and when you're that well-rounded, I guess, I don't know if it's hard to come around with the finishes, but, I feel I'm well-rounded and I can go out and finish anyone in the world. So, yeah, man, it's just different styles of fighters, some people are great at being finishers, and that's their style, go out there and hang their balls out there and go for the finish every time, and some guys go out there and are just great, technical fighters, like Demetrious. So, he's fast and, he does have the finishing ability, so you always got to worry about that. But, it is nice going in there, and, I've looked in as me being the finisher, and, he's the one that's going to have to survive and run, for 25 minutes while I'm basically, trying to kill him for 25 minutes. And I don't think he's going to be able to survive for that 25 minutes that I'm in there trying to take him out.
Joe, speaking of hanging his balls out there, on the conference call yesterday that we were all your balls, okay? But let's talk about Demetrious's balls for a second, because do you think that the conference call that we were all on yesterday, Demetrious was talking about an injury he was recovering from in the groin area, took a low kick in his last fight. I was thinking, do you think that graphic description of his scrotum on that conference call yesterday was just a psychological ploy to gross you out and distract you?
No, I think, well, he doesn't know me that well, but anyone that does, I don't really get grossed out. I'm just a gross person in general.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really gross me out as much. It just kind of, it did, catch me. I thought it was kind of unnecessary to start talking about his balls and his scrotum and everything when we're on a conference call. I really thought it did. And I think he started doing it because he was just a little nervous. To a certain point when you started talking, I was like, does this guy even know what he's talking about right now?
Maybe
it was just really weird for me. I think he was nervous about it, and it was just an awkward call in general. We have, Jones and Vitor talking about Jesus for 20 minutes, and we go right into the ball sack conversation. My favorite personal highlight of the whole press conference was Vitor saying that he's like a young dinosaur. Yeah. And it was at that moment I became a fan for life.
Man, it is so funny you said that, because I told someone after the call, I said, never ask two Jesus guys back-to-back open-ended questions about Jesus. We don't have that much time on this call. And that's funny you said that. That's exactly what happened. It was an odd call. So obviously the path to the 125 title here has been a long time coming in the UFC. It's a recently created weight class, and guys your size and Demetrious' size were having to fight out of their natural weight class for a long time in the WEC and even into the UFC. Has it been difficult in recent years, with everybody frequently sort of fighting out of their natural weight class, to get tape on, what they would look like fighting a guy more your size? I think you guys have Dominic Cruz as a common opponent, but what does that necessarily tell you when you fight each other? They're going to be a little closer to your natural body type. Has that been difficult?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is odd, and for the most part, it's a fresh start. These are our first fights. It's easy to be like, oh, we both fought Miguel Torres, we both fought Dominic Cruz, but and watch these fights and see how they did. But at the same point, this is a whole different fight. He's fighting a guy, and I know how it is. So I know kind of the compromises you have to make in your fighting style to fight these bigger guys. You don't go out there and fight like you would fight another 125-pound guy. So, it's kind of awesome. It's exciting. It's kind of a fresh new start. And, thankfully for me, I got to watch him fight, not only once but twice. 2 full round decisions over Ian McCall and see how he does at 125. When me and McCall are, kind of similar fighters. I mean, obviously there's lots of differences as well, but we have some similarities. So getting to see him fight twice, I think, was definitely an advantage for me. But like I said, man, it's nothing you can play into. I can watch Dominic, beat him and dominate him in his fight with Miguel Torres and be like, oh, I did better in both those fights. But, the truth is that wasn't the weight we're fighting at. So, like I said, you can't really play into it too much. I'm just looking to go out there and write my own story, man, and write that for myself.
And lastly for you, Joe, I've made no secret on the show about the fact that a few months ago I trained under you for 20 straight minutes at UFC Media Workout Day in the discipline of Jiu-Jitsu. Now, does that technically still make me a white belt? I might need a belt test coming up here.
Well, in Jiu-Jitsu, the belts, there's no colors. I mean, that's Jiu-Jitsu, white, purple, blue. And then once you graduate to Jiu-Jitsu, you like the lowest level in jiu-jitsu is higher than the highest level in jiu-jitsu. So, you start out, you actually go with a plaid belt, and then there's a snakeskin belt, piano key belt, and a tie-dye belt.
I'm going plaid belt shopping later today. Nice.
Exactly.
Joe, listen, man, thanks so much for the time. Always a pleasure talking to you. Joe Benavidez takes on Demetrious Johnson for the inaugural UFC flyweight title at UFC 152 coming up September 22nd in Toronto on pay-per-view. Joe, best of luck in the octagon, and hope to get you on the show again sometime soon and do another visit.
Anytime, man. Let me know.
Okay, good deal. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yep.